Hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube video. I'm Naika. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about this. Yes, Epsom salt. I'm going to tell you all about the benefits of Epsom salt to your plants and how you can use it as a fertilizer. Yes, I said a fertilizer. You can actually use Epsom salt as a fertilizer on your plants, and today I'm going to show you how and the benefits to be had by just using this simple little inexpensive thing in your cupboard. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back to this part of the video. As you can see, I have in frame right here a potted plant, and I'm going to use this potted plant to demonstrate something to you guys later down in the video. But before we go into that, let's just talk about the Epsom salt. Now if you look clearly on the bag, you see magnesium sulfate, alright? And magnesium sulfate is just a scientific name for the Epsom salt, alright? So clearly you can see that it has magnesium and sulfur, hence the name magnesium sulfate. Before we go into talking about the benefits of this, let me ask you a question, and all I want you to do is to just answer put the answer to the question down in the comment section right now. So you just pause the video, answer the question down there, and then you come back, watch the video to see if you are correct. So the question is, how many mineral nutrients do plants really need to grow effectively? Listen to the question again. How many mineral nutrients, and by mineral I mean it has to be available inside the soil environment. So don't tell me about air or carbon dioxide and oxygen. I don't want those. How many mineral nutrients do plant really needs to, bear fruit and to develop and to grow as much as possible, right? Comment that in the comment section right now. All right. So the answer to the question, you ready? 13 mineral nutrients. You heard me correct. 13 mineral nutrients. And of the 13 mineral nutrients, 6 are what we call macronutrients. 6 of them. So that is your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, your magnesium, your sulfur, and your calcium. So let's go over them again. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. Alright, so 6 mineral nutrients are what we call macronutrients. And by macro, I mean plant need those in very large quantity. Alright, so the others, with the other what? 7? The other 7 are what we refer to as trace elements or trace nutrients. Meaning that the plant only need a small amount or a trace amount of these nutrients. Hence the name trace elements or trace nutrients. Alright, trace minerals. Alright, so you see that different name in different literature. So of the 6 nutrients, that macronutrients, what we call macronutrients, of those 6, when you fertilize, most of the times, the 3 that you normally give is the N, P, and the K, which is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So a fertilizer like this right here, this is what we call multi-purpose 20-20-20. That means it's 20 part or 20% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus, 20% potassium. 20-20-20. So this fertilizer mainly only contain nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, plus it adds some other trace elements. But you realize that the other 3 macronutrients, which is calcium, sulfur, and magnesium, is not in that fertilizer, and this is where this comes in. So for you gardeners out there who have potted plants, when you fertilize, most of the times this is what you use. You use a water soluble fertilizer like this, a 20-20-20. Most of the times or sometimes, right, does not contain any magnesium and any or sulfur or calcium, and so therefore those other 3 macronutrients most of the times are usually sidelined, right, for these 3 and the other trace elements. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how you can use the Epsom salt now to fill that shortcoming. So between this, if you are using this nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, you will not only have these 3, but you will also have magnesium, sulfur, right? You realize that we don't have the calcium there, but in most of our soil in Jamaica, we have a lot of calcium. So most of the time we don't necessarily have to add calcium, because calcium is an abundant element in the soil, right? So we are adding nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur. All right, and this is where this is absolutely important. Now, you may be asking, how do you add this to your plants? Now, this is a potted plant. There's two ways how I could add it. Alright? I could add it by just taking a teaspoonful and add it directly onto the soil inside the pot, or I could add it to the leaves by mixing it in water and actually mist it on or spray it onto the leaves. Now you may ask which of the two methods is most effective. It depends. It depends on if the plant is potted. If the plant is potted like this, you'll want to go the route of spraying it onto the plant, because sometimes if you put it directly in there, it will actually cause the roots to burn, because the roots are such in close proximity. So therefore, if you have the plants like in your garden, in a garden bed, you can actually add the magnesium. Just add it right around the plant itself. Add it to the soil. Don't necessarily put it onto the soil in this granular format. However, the most effective way is to actually mist it onto the plant. So you're going to actually mix it like maybe a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons per gallon of water. My ratio that I use is 1 teaspoon. I don't want to go because you see, I like to feed the plant periodically. I don't want to just put 2 teaspoons now and then don't put none maybe another month. I like to actually give it, like, every time I water, I give it a little, right? A little. So what I do is to actually mix it at a smaller rate. So I use 1 teaspoon per gallon of water, and I actually mix it onto the plant, and I can do this maybe every 2 weeks or so. You just gradually mix it onto the plant leaves, right? Because the plant leaves are small. The leaves of the plant have small holes, and we call those stomatas, or pores, right? Most of them are located on the side of the leaves. So when you actually mix down the fertilizer, that is where the fertilizer is absorbed into the body of the plant. So it is more readily available. It is more easier to actually go into the plant rather than to put it onto the soil. Then it has to liquefy, then goes into the roots and go into the plant. Meaning if you just mist it directly onto the plant, it becomes available to the plant much faster. So if you are treating, like, say, a deficiency, if you see a plant like showing signs of deficiency, like I see right here, sometimes you can actually see the edge of the leaves actually burning, and those leaves to the bottom are closer to the bottom of the plant, to the base of the plant. Those are the leaves. Sometimes you see the edge of them look scorched. To remedy that, you can just go ahead and mist on the fertilizer. It remedied that solution, that problem. It remedied that problem much faster rather than to actually add it directly to the soil. Alright? So, how do you look for magnesium and sulfur deficiency? Basically, if you look at the older leaves, you will see the older leaves, the edge of the older leaves look like, they are burning right back. I can actually have one to show you over here. Alright, let me show you this one. You can actually see scorching at the edge of the leaves, at the tip. And that is a sign that the plant may, listen to the word may, because not all the time, sometimes it have a lot of other reasons as to why the plant may show. But most of the times, if you see this, right, it is telling you that there's a lack of or deficiency in magnesium, especially plants that are potted like this one. So when you see something like this now, all you need to do is just go and apply your Epsom salt solution in water, as I demonstrated earlier, as I showed you earlier, I mentioned earlier, to the plant. Just mist it onto the plant, and that will correct those type of deficiencies for the plant. Alright, so you may ask, what is the benefit of magnesium and sulfur, basically? What are the benefits? What it does to the plant? Well, basically, they actually help in chlorophyll development. And of course, chlorophyll is what gives the plant its rich green color. And so therefore, if you don't have enough magnesium and sulfur within the plant or within the soil for the plant to actually uptake, then you're going to see deficiencies developing. Where I showed you earlier, the plant actually burning right at the tip, because what happening is that nutrients can translocate. So for example, here at the top of the plant is going to focus more on the top, on the development of the top right here, to continue grow rather than down here. So what will happen is that nutrients that was already in these leaves will actually translocate it, meaning that they move from the older leaves into the newer leaves. And that is why you realize that you see the deficiency in the older leaves rather than in the newer leaves for most of the macronutrients. For the trace elements, you actually see them in the new leaves. So for example, iron is a trace mineral, right? And if the plant is deficient in iron, you will see it in the younger leaves rather than the older leaves. But the other nutrients like the trace minerals, most of the times you will see them in the older leaf because they can be translocated from older leaves into newer leaves. However, iron is not one such nutrient. It cannot be translocated, and because it cannot move from older leaves into newer leaves, you see the deficiency develop and manifest into the newer leaves, the ones at the top. So if you look at the older leaves, as I said, and you see it scorching at the tip, right, you can, comfortably say, make an assumption as to the nutrient that is being deficient, right? And that would be magnesium or sulfur. And so to treat your plant, all you have to do is, as I said, is to just add 1 teaspoon, or you can add 2 teaspoons if you want, to a gallon of water, and you just mist it on to the leaves of the plant, to all the vegetation, and wet it up, including the soil. So when you water, you wet up all the leaves, including the soil, right? And that will deal with any magnesium or sulfur deficiency within your plant. As I said, especially potted plants, because as you will rightly understand that potted plants have a limited amount of soil, inside of the pot, and so therefore it is not like outside where the plant roots can extend and search for other minerals or for nearby minerals that may be in the soil environment. This is confined. The plant roots are confined, and so therefore it runs the risk of depleting all the nutrients within the pot, within the confined space. And so therefore it is always advisable to actually add nutrients periodically. And so this can be used to solve that problem. And you can use this on approximately any plant in your garden, whether it is potted or it is in the garden bed outside. This is a #1 fertilizer. Use it. Alright? It is not going to burn the plant unless you use it in really indiscriminately. But if you use it within the guidelines that I demonstrated, right, that I talk about, you won't run any risk of burning the plant, or you won't run any risk of the pot, the soil environment become too toxic, because you know that toxicity is one. If you use too much of something, it can become toxic, right? So just follow the guidelines. Don't use too much. Use it sparingly, and apply it to the plant periodically. You can mix it with this. So if you have 20-20-20, and as I said, this is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium plus other trace minerals. So this fertilizer and you have different blends. Different places will have different blends. Different companies will have different blend, right? And they will even make specific blend to target certain plants, like a certain crop. Maybe they make a blend for tomato, maybe they make a blend for pepper, right? But generally, if you have the all-purpose, multi-purpose 20-20 liquid water-soluble fertilizer, you can actually mix this with this. Won't be any problem. So just like how I have my container here with some, if you can see, I have some of the 20-20-20 mix in this already. All I'm going to do now is just to add a teaspoon of this Epsom salt to this mixture, because it's a salt, so therefore when you put it in water, it will just dissolve. Alright, shake it around a little bit, and then you apply it to your plant. So to apply it, maybe you don't need a big bottle like this, a big spray bottle like this. You can use one of the smaller spray bottles. But if you have one of these, you can go ahead and use it. But you can always use one of the smaller one. What you can do is just to mix it in a bigger container, and then you pour it out into that smaller container, so you can have it to use on your plant. Alright? So, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the benefits we have of using Epsom salt on your plant. So no longer you have to just keep this in your cupboard and use it for other purposes. You can also use it, as you can see, for our other fertilizer for your plants, right? So your plant can do much better. And remember, it is 13 mineral nutrients, right? And of the 13, most of the times when you are applying fertilizer, the only 3 that you add is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the NPK they call them, or the tripod, because it's 3, so they call them the golden tripod. The 3, those are absolutely important: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. However, there is magnesium, there's sulfur, and there's calcium, right? Those are actually macronutrients as well, and the plant need those in large quantity. The remaining 7 are what we refer to as trace minerals, so the plant only need them in small amount, and so therefore most, if not all of our soil, especially in Jamaica here, we have a good amount of trace minerals. But if these trace minerals are not being replaced over time, right? Say for example, you have a field and every time you go and you harvest, but you are not allowing the soil to follow. You're not leaving it any time to stay there and go back to its former glory. Then most of the trace elements will be depleted. So if you plant a crop of corn, and every time the corn grow and you harvest the corn, and you take up the trash, or you burn the trash, or you feed the leaves and so forth to your animal, nothing is there from the corn to decompose and to go back to the soil to actually add nutrition to the soil. So we're actually taking out nutrients out of the soil over so many years, and so therefore after a while the soil becomes depleted of these essential trace elements. Because from time to time what you will do, you will go back and you will actually add the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium, but many times we don't think about the trace elements, and they are absolutely important. I like to think of the trace elements are as the vitamins to our body, because vitamins, some people call them vitamins, just a pronunciation, but vitamins are really important, what we call elements or nutrients to our body. But many times when we eat, we don't eat with the aim of getting vitamins and minerals. We eat in the aim of getting protein and carbohydrate and fat, because those protein, carbohydrate and fat would be similar to the NPK. Our body need them in large amount, and so therefore we feed those to our body. But the important vitamins and minerals, we don't pay attention to those. Just like the trace elements, we don't pay attention to those. We don't pay attention to the nitrogen, to the iron, and to the zinc, and to the molybdenum, and to the copper. We don't pay attention to those in the plants. And likewise, we don't pay attention to these three. Well, I don't have three here, but I only have two of the three, which is the magnesium, the sulfur, and the calcium. We don't really pay attention to those, especially gardeners, home owners, and so forth. Alright? Because most of the times they are available in the plant in abundance. So we don't really pay attention to those, but those are absolutely important as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And if you have any question about using Epsom salt on your plant, ask it down in the comment section. For home and garden fix and tricks, I'm Michael. Peace.